So, during the bye week, I decided to check myself into a facility for fans, insane fans. I felt it was a necessary step after watching all these coaches get fired, except for the one that really needs to be fired, Matt Patricia. Now, far be it from me to wish unemployment on anybody, but I can't think of a more deserving person to lose his job than the head coach of the Detroit Lions. He stinks. It's football. It's not rocket science. All of their coaches always stink. During the Super Bowl era, of the 18 coaches in Detroit Lions history, only 4 of them have records above 500. George Wilson, Joe Schmidt, Jim Caldwell, and Gary Moeller. Moeller was an interim coach and stepped in for Bobby Ross and almost got the team to the playoffs. But thanks to a Paul Edinger field goal, the Lions were knocked out of the playoffs with a 9-7 record. So that's 3 coaches who were full-time and had a winning record. One guy died after one season. There were a few guys like Harry Gilmer who played in Detroit and got a job. He was fired after 2 seasons. Dick Jauron only coached 5 games after taking over for Steve Mariucci. They even hired the director of personnel and scouting to be head coach once. What I'm trying to say is that the Lions suck and they need to fire Matt Patricia. But he's still not the worst coach in Lions history. Yet, Wayne Fontes. Wayne Fontes isn't even supposed to be on this list, but he is, because as my therapist says, he represents the mediocrity that is this franchise. Fontes holds club records for games coached, wins, and playoff victories since 1957. Wayne Fontes has the only playoff win in the Super Bowl era, a 38-6 win over the Dallas Cowboys in the 1991 season. That's it. Detroit also won at least 10 games for Fontes 3 times. He led the Lions into the playoffs 4 times, but he pretty much broke even in Detroit and was fired when they went 5-11 in 1996. Wayne Fontes was the coach I grew up watching that had the most success, and they were still mediocre. Wayne Fontes' only head coaching job was in Detroit. That's gonna be a theme here. Jim Schwartz. Now, Jim Schwartz wasn't horrendous, and he tried. Boy, oh boy, he tried. But my therapist said that I should accept things the way that they are and not see them the way that I see them. This team sucked too. Now, he was the coach set to clean up the mess left behind Rod Marinelli and Matt Millen. He had the Lions in the playoffs by his 3rd season with the 10-6 record, but that was the only time they finished above 500 during his time in Detroit. He gave the team a little attitude and made a pretty successful handoff to Caldwell, and I can't hate the guy for that, even though they sucked. Bobby Ross. Now, when Bobby Ross left the San Diego Chargers, he had a 47-33 record. He won 2 division titles, and he took the Chargers to the Super Bowl in every universe imaginable. This was a great hire. They even went 9-7 and made the playoffs in his first season. Then, Barry Sanders retired. Man, we threw Bobby Ross under the bus big time. He resigned 9 games into the 2000 season. He quit on the Lions in the middle of the season, a season where they almost made the playoffs. Ross never returned to the NFL, but he did coach Army from 2004 to 2006 before retiring in 2007. Monty Clark. After being on the staff of legendary head coach Don Shula, Monty Clark would give the Lions faithful hope. But this is a list about the worst coaches in Lions history. He went 9-7 twice and 8-8, then lost a bunch of games. Clark is most known for praying to the heavens above as Eddie Murray lined up for a last-second field goal that would have given the Lions a 25-23 win and a spot in the NFC Championship game. Murray missed the field goal to end the Lions season. Clark was fired after posting a 4-11-1 record in 1984, and he never coached in the NFL again. Rick Forzano. Forzano was thrust into the head coaching position after Don McCafferty suffered a fatal heart attack in 1974. He led the Lions to a pair of 7-7 seasons before being fired in 1976 after Detroit lost 3 of its first 4 games. He never coached in the NFL again. Steve Mariucci. Now, seeing Mooch come out in support of Matt Patricia isn't shocking, because he's right. The ownership has a really big part to play in why the Lions gone Lion. But nobody wants to hear that from a guy who coached his team to a 15-28 record. In 3 years under Mariucci, the Lions were still trash. There were no highlights, only lowlights. Mariucci got a job with the NFL Network and hasn't coached in the NFL since leaving Detroit. Darryl Rogers. Who in their right mind wants to take the Lions job as head coach? I'm 2 wrong moves from being homeless, and I'd still consider my other options before saying yes. For Darryl Rogers, that rang true too. His time in Detroit was so bad, he asked reporters, "What does a coach have to do around here to get fired?" Yeah, Rodgers inherited a 7-9 team, and it all went downhill from there. William Clay Ford replaced him with Wayne Fontes, and Rodgers never coached in the NFL again. Matt Patricia. Is there anything I really need to say about Patricia that I haven't said? Trash. Fire Matt Patricia. Marty Mornhinweg. Now, there are traumatic events, and then there's the Marty Mornhinweg era, ushered in by Matt Millen. I'm not gonna say it. Mornhinweg walked in and told us the bar was high. Maybe he meant something else at the time, because the bar was actually on the ground. His coaching experience can be summed up best by the decision-making during this coin toss before overtime against Chicago. Mornhinweg decided he wanted the win at the Lions' back instead of the ball. This was long before they changed the overtime rules too. This was sudden death. The Bears scored on their first possession, winning on Paul Edinger's 40-yard field goal. Mornhinweg even defended his decision years after. Now the good news is Mornhinweg never got another job again. I'm just kidding. He's been employed ever since then. And that, kids, is what we call mediocrity. Rod Marinelli. The worst coach in Lions history. He never won more than 7 games, and most importantly, he was the first coach to lose all 16 games in a football season. Now, there's nothing that can top that. Marinelli is probably the worst coach in NFL history. And believe it or not, after he was fired in Detroit, he's been gainfully employed each year since. Thanks to my therapist, I'm gonna deal with this game the way I deal with every other game. Drinking. Go Lions, I guess. Fire Matt Patricia.